Hi everybody, my name is Benji David and today I'll be performing an NG tube insertion. So before anything else, as a nurse, you have to know what you're doing and why, okay? So an NG tube is usually done on a patient who cannot eat orally. They can be fed through the tube, or somebody who has a trach or under a vent and they need gastric secretions or air aspirated from their stomach. So that is a good indication for this procedure. All right, so even though you have received your orders, you have to visually inspect your patient. You have to see if they have any facial trauma, any bleeding going on, some gastric perforation, or probably esophageal varices. That person is not a candidate for this type of procedure. So you then inform the MD about that. Okay, and also let's say you've confirmed the orders from the physician. Um, you visually inspected, checked your patient, you have to let them know and get their consent before anything else. Okay, what if you have a lot of patients within the day and you gather all your supplies, so you've already lost time and effort, exerted effort, so you have to work smart. Okay, so now let's go through our supplies. Of course, we have our gloves, our 60 cc or ml syringe, some tissue, good to have a pen light, a cup with water, your tape, lubricating jelly, water base, and your page strip, a towel, your emesis basin, your stethoscope, and of course your tubing. Okay, make sure you take note the size of the tubing that you'll be using depending on the patient that you will be working on with, okay? Because you will have to document that size later on before we end. All right, before the procedure ends. Okay, so let's start. Let's say that you already confirmed the orders twice, patient's name, day-to-day procedure. Okay, so we're now going to go in the patient's room. Thank you. Perform hand hygiene. And hi, sir, can you please state your name for me? Thank you. And your date of birth. Thank you. So, hi, Mr. Sunny again. My name is Vanji David, your nurse for the day. And we've spoken earlier about the procedure, this insertion, and you've given me consent. I was just wondering if this is a good time to start that. Thank you. So, you've already got confirmation. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start hand hygiene first. Again, let's put on our gloves. So now what are we first going to do? We are now going to confirm which nostril we're going to insert the tube in, okay? So how do we do that? Two ways. One is you use our pen to visually inspect. Okay, no deviation, no obstruction. And then next is to have the patient exhale on one nostril and exhale surface on the other. Thank you. So for this one, I'll be using the right nostril, okay? There's no deviation or no obstruction over there. So now what are we going to do next? We are going to prepare our patient. Make sure you are on a good working height. Protect your patient and protect yourself as well, okay? So we're just going to place this here just to cover. And at some point, through this procedure, we do have a gag reflex, okay? And it is possible, and it will happen actually, that the patient will have some emesis going on once we reach a certain point, all right? Once the tube reaches a certain point. So it's good to have this within reach or near the patient, okay? And also sometimes they would have gloves just for protective equipment, okay, for your eyes, or a mask. All right, so now let's get our tube. Sometimes this is placed on warm water just to make it more pliable for the patient, okay, upon going in, all right, to a warm water. So now we have given privacy for the patient, making sure that he is comfortable, number one. And usually the patient would be on a high fall or semi-Fowler position, whichever is tolerated best. Making sure that they are comfortable, you have to ask them. All right, so Mr. Sunny, I'm just going to measure as to how long the tube how long of a tubing will go in. All right, so let them know every step of the way. All right, and how do we measure? First of all, we would start at the nostril like this. All right, going to the earlobe, and then mark it with your hand, and then moving down to the xiphoid process. All right. So I want to inform you this tube is actually marked, but just be smart. I know you may remember and I know you may forget as well. So what I do, I use tape, right? And I'll mark it like so on 45. Right, so this is how much is going into the patient, right? So before anything else, make sure again the patient is comfortable, and let them know, Mr. Sunny, if there's anything that you need to tell me or you want me to stop, just raise your hand or your finger and I'll stop the procedure, okay? All right. So now let us begin. All right. I'm just lubricating the end, okay? All right, once we're done with that, we will now do the insertion. Okay, so anatomy wise, how do we go in? It would be going straight and down, not up, straight and down. Okay, that's how we're made. All right, so now let's start the procedure. Mr. Sunny, I'm now going to insert this tube in your right nostril. If there's anything that you need to tell me or want me to stop, just raise your hand, okay? Thank you. You may feel a little bit uncomfortable at this moment. Okay, I'm just going down slowly, straight and down. All right, so at this point, you may feel some resistance. What do? You move back, you withdraw. You may want to relubricate, or you may want to use another nostril if it really doesn't want to go in. All right, so at this point, there's no resistance, so I'm going to keep on going. So once you reach the nasopharynx, you would know because the patient will start gagging at this point. Okay, excessive gagging is not good. That means you may be somewhere else, all right? Or maybe past that nasopharynx already or in the lungs, all right? So withdraw and stop. All right. And then at this moment, if they do start gagging, you can stop. And Mr. Sunny, I would have to ask you to drink some water, some sips, small sips, while I insert the tube to help it go down easier. Okay? So while you are doing that, you can have somebody help you with this. He's sipping and you are inserting. And at the same time, you can have him hyperflex the neck just to help the tube go down easier through that curve right here. Okay? Through this curve. All right. So now that we are past that area, it would be easier at this point. Okay. He wouldn't feel that much uh, uncomfortable feeling at this point. Okay, sir, we are almost there. Are you breathing okay? Raise your hand for me. Thank you. All right, so now we reached the point. See how helpful that is. All right. So now what are we going to do? We are now going to confirm placement. Okay, once we've reached that point. And how do we do that? 3 ways. First, we can use auscultation, which is not preferred anymore, but do it still. All right. So we are going to get our 60 cc syringe and we're just going to draw probably 10 to 20 cc's of air. And also, oh yes, by the way, there are 2 endings over here. The blue one, we're not going to use that. Usually an anti-reflux valve is placed over here to prevent any gastric contents from leaking out. And this side is what we're going to use, okay, for feeding and aspirating. So air in here, and we are going to listen for that whooshing sound. Place it on the epigastric area, diaphragm. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. And you will hear that. technically it means that you're in the right area, but it is good to double check. All right, so another check would be through pH content, pH level. So what are we going to do? We are going to put our syringe, and we're going to aspirate just a little bit. We don't want to take too much away from the patient. All right, 10 mLs. There we go. And we're going to get our pH strip. Okay, and then we're just going to put one drop. And then we're going to wait, and we're going to compare. Okay, usually it would turn green, and meaning that you do have gastric content, but better to get that number, see that number 0 to 4, meaning you do have gastric contents. You're in the right place, having that gastric content if the level is 0 to 4 or below 5. Okay, so we've confirmed that. And last confirmation, but the most reliable is a KUB or an abdominal X-ray. It's a kidney, ureter, bladder scan or an X-ray. So definitely do not put any medication. Do not do any feeding until you've done that confirmation, the KUB, all right, or an abdominal X-ray. All right. So now that we've done the checks, the placement, we're now going to secure our tubing. So usually what some do, you get a piece of tape, you split it in half, you're going to put it on the bridge of the patient's nose, like so, and you're going to wrap the tubing like a candy cane. You know how that looks like, right? The white and red color candy cane, or green, just to keep it in place. Okay, so there you go. That's now secured, and you're not obstructing the nostrils. Okay, make sure. And some would tape it over here too. Use a transparent tape to see the tissue integrity as well as days go by. At least you would see. Some tape it over here at the cheek area. And now this part, just move it away from the patient. Make sure they're comfortable and it's not on their way. So you tape it or you secure it with a safety pin on their gown. Okay. So now that that is secured, I have to ask the patient, are they comfortable? Put the bed in the lowest position. Okay, make sure he is safe. All right, and he's comfortable. Is there anything else that you need, sir? We are actually finished. Are you breathing well? Yes. And you've checked vital signs. Pulse oximeter is also good to have handy with you. All right, so once everything is done, you've left the patient, you've done hand hygiene. We are now going to document everything that we've done. So how do we document? What do we document? We document vital signs, the indication of this procedure, the size of the tube, um, the depth of the insertion that you've made, and confirmation of the gastric contents. Like what did you do? Did you do auscultation? Did you do the pH strip? Or the KUB, right? Or all three. All right. And also the patient tolerance. Was the patient tolerated the procedure? Did he have any adverse effects, any bleeding, things like that? Okay, and what I do not have with me here is only the suction canister and the suction tubing. If you're doing it as in a home, you would probably see a portable suction. If it's a facility, you'll see it on the wall. Okay, so if you need to attach this to a suction, you would remove this and attach it to the suction, or if you're feeding, attach it to the feeding. All right, so thank you. That concludes our procedure, and I'll see you soon again. Okay, bye. Make sure as well, sorry, make sure as well that you have given privacy. I just want to make sure I said that before anything else, before starting the procedure, okay? Patient privacy, hand washing, and all that. Thank you.